meticulous planning by our HOD, Dr. Mahalakshmi ma'am, and dedicated team who has worked round the clock has made this possible. As saying goes, small things comes from small things. Some small beginning comes great things. We have started this program with a baby step, and great things as faculties, we have to equip ourselves to see or watch our postgraduates and UG students, undergraduate students performing well in their academics, clinics, and research aspects. With this, I call upon Dr. Mahalakshmi ma'am to moderate the much awaited session of this FDP, the panel discussion. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajkumar. Indeed, we have had 7 days of wonderful lectures by eminent speakers. They have spent their valuable time and effort in compiling the entire program. So the entire success of this 7-day program goes to them entirely. So to culminate and to sort of bring out more of points that have been missed out, or points that we feel that we can't take it as a lecture, but we can still discuss it as in a panel discussion, is what we had planned. So let me start off without much delay. Like I am the old generation. Like I started my teaching in the early 90s. So though I finished in 87, I started only in 90s. But the point is that I always used to feel, I may be wrong, so I want to know the opinion of the old timers here, some of the old time, only a few are there, Dr. Meena and Dr. Sarji, on do you think that the attitude of the students have changed? Every time I feel that the earlier batch was better than this batch. Every year I used to keep repeating the same dialogue. So do you think so, or am I wrong, or do it is we who have to change? What do you think? Dr. Meena, can you just tell me, or is it the reason for this change in the different strategies or the ways or modifications in our teaching protocols? Dr. Meena?
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. What I feel is the learning method of students have changed. Since the learning method, earlier, everybody used to sit down with a book with an allotted hour or like a timetable and go through. Now it's more like multitasking. The laptop will be on, they will be going through the soft copy of the textbook and also listen to music, probably, have a chat with their friends. So since their learning method has changed, probably our approaches have to change. So definitely there is a change in the students' approach to learning. And that I think is the main reason why we have to change our strategies to suit the need.
And your opinion, Dr. Sarji? Can you unmute yourself, please? Unmute yourself.
There's a shift from a teacher-based education system to need of the student. Now we have to shift from the teachers to the students. It's no more a autocracy. Teaching nowadays, school is no more brick walls or no more, there are no boundaries. So our education system should be more oriented towards what is the need of the student, what they want to learn, and what we have to shift from the traditional system to what they are learning, why they are learning, and what they are going to do after learning this thing, how they are going to apply it. So from need based, it should be more oriented towards their future career. I think this is the best way a teacher can serve a student, by shifting from need based to the real requirement of the student in his future life.
Well said, Dr. Sarji. I also see a lot of students who are, not able to take up failures. We see a lot of students are like, in news we read that many students have committed suicide, or, just because somebody scolded or they failed in exam. And do you think it is because of the present generation parenting that is the reason for this? I think I would like to ask Dr. Girija on this.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Malakshmi. That's a burning question in my head also all the time, and that is true that it is also, I believe it is on the part of parenting also, because now the scenario is changed, mostly single child or two children, and both are working. So we feel like, most of the parents, they pamper the children and they never expose them to the failures. They never know what to be done. So that's the greatest problem, I feel. So as a parent and as a teacher also, we should insist upon them that it is not that, that they are failing in something. It is only the improvement that is required there. So how best they are from the yesterday, that is very important. So I think we need to emphasize this on the parents as well as the staff who are dealing with the students.
Okay. Now, what
Thank
does
you.
thank you, Girija.
Yeah.
What does the student expect of us? Can Dr. Ruchika please put this thing on this, or rather, till now we thought what we expected of the students, but that aspect. Now, what does the student actually expect from a teacher? What do you think is the current?
That's a tough one, ma'am. We are all trying to figure that till now. But yeah, I think actually what the student, as we were discussing before, now it is time, as Dr. Sajeev also said, that now it's time that we change ourselves in the way we are teaching or the way we are approaching. Earlier, as you said, there was not much teaching and a lot of initiative was coming from the students. Now, of course, there is a little bit more of hand-holding that we are doing. But, there's a different generation of students that we are dealing with. So the biggest challenge that I think that we face with our students today is to keep them motivated. Not motivated enough to follow what we are doing or to get that passion in them. So what they are looking for is basically role models and mentors. They should feel inspired that, okay, this is what I want to do, or this is how I want to, be 5 years or 10 years down the lane. So I think the main thing that today's students are looking for from us is that inspiration or that trigger, which because they all are very capable. They are much more talented, I think, than what we were also. The only thing that is lacking in them is that, go for it. We all were strugglers. We all were struggling from day one only, and it came naturally to us and your generation even more. This generation just needs that inspiration or that trigger in them to go ahead. And they will, they can really do what we cannot imagine also. That's what I feel.
So in this aspect, do you think you need a, in-house psychologist or this thing, Dr. Sajeev? I think you were the one who was suggesting that we need an in-house psychologist or, career counseling, and maybe a particular department that is devoted to that aspect of teaching or learning.
Madam, can I get it back, madam?
Yes, I want you to respond.
Yes, madam. What is the question, madam, please?
Okay. Do we need a department that dedicates to career development and in-house psychologists so who can take care of the emotional quotient?
Madam, times are changing. The whole society is changing, and there's a lot of pressure on the students, both inside the house and even outside the house, on the roads, in the school, in the colleges. There are students. They're all our children. They're under tremendous pressure to perform. When you go to some party or when you go to a gathering, all parents will be telling, even though we can discount 20% of the percentage, they're telling my child got 94%, my child got 90%. We should always discount very here. But at the same time, it is very important to understand what is happening under the mind of a child who is studying. Maybe he's a postgraduate, he may be a junior associate, or he might be a senior most person. We are all under push. Either we have to perform or we have to perish. That is how society is going on. And I have seen that there is a lot of outer in the countries which are non-Indian countries, where they are developed countries, overdeveloped countries rather, they have in-house counseling. They have got an anonymous box where they can drop in comments about the teachers. They have got in-house counselors. They have got every monthly or every quarter, they have got review meetings wherein the student is called by the psychologist and he can talk one-to-one to that particular cycle without any pressure from any teacher or any parent or any friend.
And
Nowadays,
I'm sure, I think some universities here also do follow. Dr. Vasudev, do you have anything to say on this? And also another question for you is, in this sir said they are under tremendous pressure to perform. Now we make them tremendous pressure to publish also. So isn't that a pressure more? So 2 questions for you.
Good afternoon, madam. Regarding the answer for your first question, yeah, in Manipal, we have all the privileges for the student. So students who come to Manipal, I think they enjoy life more than their course, what they have joined for. Everybody are happy. If you ask any student, nobody will say Manipal life is bad. This is the first truth, okay, in all the aspect. And yeah, coming on to this point, we have the psychologists, all the support system, everything is there separately for students, but not for staff. We had given a suggestion, no, because if you want to keep a student happy, we need to undergo a lot of, we also will be in so much of stress. So we have asked for a faculty support system also from the university, because there are a lot of faculties, especially younger people who are also in stress. So for they also has to be consulted, and that is the one thing. So yeah, and regarding this, I think what I feel is, students are like more friendly nowadays, and the basic thing what I feel what is lacking is the respect. The respect what we used to give for our teachers, we will never get that from our student now, whether it is a UG or PG.
Correct.
That is one main difference where I feel everything is changing now, because they want to be very friendly. And as all other speakers said, we have to move on. We can't be like our teachers. So we have to change ourselves, and we have to be cool with them. So that is regarding your first question. And regarding your second question, when you say about a research for a student, I think we should not pressurize them to publish in a high impact journal or Q1, etc. Because they are the beginners. Even most of the staff who have completed MDS also are not able to do a research. So you can't expect a PG or a UG to do a big time research. The only thing our motto should be to sensitize them to research. So what exactly research is? So they can take some small time project and publish in a good reputed like PubMed Index journal in the beginning. Then yeah, each university have their own norms. For example, in Manipal, we have to publish in Scopus. So any publication which is not published in Scopus is not valid in our university. So when you go for a Scopus, you can go for a Q3 or Q4. So you can start a research project in a small time research project and just sensitize them like what is research, how to write a project, how to design a study, what is the importance of that. I think that has to be stressed more. Then when they climb up, always we can try for a bigger study. This is what I feel.
Thank you, Vasu. And on that same note, I would like to ask Shivashakti also whether patenting is the sole responsibility of the staffs, or do we involve students as well, or do we motivate students, because that again becomes an extra burden on them?
Actually, what I feel is this patent and any sort of IPR activity that actually becomes an interesting activity for them. Because it is like product developing. It is not like sitting and going through and then writing as this thing, dissertation or something. It's actually a very interesting thing for them, because when we talk about the styles of the learners, when I even saw like most of the students would be of kinesthetic learners, where they enjoy learning through doing something. So for those people, actually, these IPR activities would be very interesting. And believe me, you will get a lot of IPR when you introduce it to the undergraduates, because the young minds have got a lot of new ideas to do. Because the moment they feel that something is not working for them, immediately they want to change it in a way that it is working for them. So those sort of modifications, rather than us, they will be doing it. And we can be as a supporting factor, we can be there with them. And the other thing is, I also feel that nowadays the children want an informal relationship with the faculty. Like you should be always available in the WhatsApp for them to anytime to clarify. That is absolutely, as Dr. Vasudev told, there should not be any red tape as a faculty and a student. They don't want that segregation to be there. That's what I know from my experience, ma'am.
Yeah. So as Vasu was also saying, that they just finished PG student, when they join as a as a faculty, I feel they're on extended vacation. So how do we motivate them to actually take up teaching? Many of them join, maybe for some reason or the other, but not as teaching as a passion. So Dr. Meena, can you just tell how can we, motivate youngsters to take up teaching as a passion? I know it's not lucrative enough to join teaching anymore because they do consultations and then they do this as part-time. So how can we motivate them to, to be good teachers?
One, they have joined a teaching institution. Yes, isn't it? So what we have to look for is their area of interest, whether they like any niche area, or they like to go into research, or they would like to develop something new. So whatever their area of, some persons might be very artistic, but maybe expressing the art through probably painting or photography, things like that. Maybe they can get into photography. Some of these artistic people can do very good sort of skilled work. So depending on which area they are good at, and if they can go in that area, establish their name in that area, probably it will do a lot of good for the institution. Probably somebody may...
That way, even the students, they know that this particular staff is good in something. They approach them to do something good, or further, if they want to clarify, they can approach them. Yeah,
some of them who may be very good with their mobiles, you can motivate them to do mobile photography, which has so many accessories now, and you can do good photography with mobile. You can become expert in any small niche area in which they have a tendency. That's what I feel. And we can develop it like a team.
Yeah. So that in that aspect, how do you think, Dr. Ruchika, how do you think that, UGs can do some studies, or how do we get funding for studies that can be done by undergraduate students? Now we were talking mostly about postgraduates. So undergraduates also, now we want to motivate undergraduates. I think I can ask this question also to Vasu, because many of their undergraduate students do also a lot of research. But I would like to have the thing from you, Ruchika, on how to go about, motivating the undergraduate students to do studies also, and then small studies which they can get funding for, because they don't want to spend so much because they have so many subjects to tackle.
Right. Yes, ma'am. So there are 2-3 aspects to this question that you asked. It is a very important thing that we need to address. First, as Dr. Shivashakti very rightly pointed, that mental stimulation is very good. So giving them, challenges like making a product and very small objectives, but challenging works. As far as fundings are concerned, I covered a few yesterday in my yesterday session also. But almost all research bodies now have divided their grants as per the age category. So almost all of them have grants for young students. For example, ICMR has this short-term studentship, which they give only to undergraduate students, and they give up to 300 students per year, BDS, 1,200 medical students and 300 dental undergraduates they give per year. They have to develop a research objective and a research plan with their faculty, and they submit it. Right now, it is open. In fact, we were working with our students for it till about 26 January, 16th February is probably the last date. And then if it gets approved, they get about 50,000 rupees for 2 years, which is a very good grant for them to get. Almost all bodies have it. Even under UGC has a lot of such grants. Of course, faculty has to do a little hand holding. You have to tell them as undergraduates, so they know nothing. So you have to tell them how to make a research, objective, how to much question, work on it, and then they submit it. Other aspect is even the institutes can give a very small, the amount can be small, but they can start intramural grant even to promote these undergraduates. And that, even if you give them a 5,000 seat grant, it means something for them to start their research. And they can give incentives like, a patent, as, others also mentioned. So you can give them some incentives where we should acknowledge students who are working towards patenting, give them some kind of award if they do that. So these are all good motivation factors for them.
Vasu, your take on this?
Yeah, I completely agree with Dr. Ruchika, what she said, because for undergraduates, I think, it's quite, first of all, it is quite difficult to make them do research.
Yeah.
Not all will be interested. Most of the undergraduates who do research are of the people like, who wants to go for abroad. So that is one thing. So, and I think institutions should support more, because getting all this extramural or government funding, it might take time. And you need to write the paperwork. As Ruchika said, it'll all come on the faculty or a mentor who is guiding them.
Yeah.
And the end, they will be more frustrated, like student is not doing anything, everything and coming on their head. And you can't blame the student also, because they are so immature, to do all this grant work. So in such cases, I feel the institution should give some minimal funding for it. Like in our institution, even the junior most faculty who are below the cadre of associate professor, they get minimum of 50,000 rupees for their funding for their project. In that way only, if the institution can support even the UGs, undergraduate projects, I think that is the best way and you can do the research faster. Because they will be there. Usually they start their research when they're in third year or final year. So within a year or so, they want to complete their research. So applying for this government funding might take time, because a lot of paperwork is there. You need to get the permission, etc. So it might take time. So if the institution can support a student, I think that is the best and the best way to do some small time research in undergraduate level. That is what I feel.
Oh, great. Okay, so moving on to postgraduate teaching. Now in this present era of digitalization of everything, writing has actually gone down a bit. Handwriting is bad, sentence forming is bad, words are eaten up. So how do you think you can improve the skills of writing skills of a student? Dr. Nimisha, can you give your inputs on this? I know it's quite difficult, but
okay, madam, what I feel is it's not only the digital era, it's also the exam system which has made this difference. Like we are focusing whatever entrances they are giving after 12th or even after the graduation, that's a NEET based. Now, this is like my personal experience. Sometimes a student with very good rank, they enter to our institution and we have a high hopes. Okay, it's 1,000 rank all India student. But when we actually check, when they are presenting their seminars or their writing abilities and even the knowledge depth, it's very, very poor, because they are trained to clear the NEET examination. Like same thing happens like in first batch when this basic science paper was introduced. So it is, I suppose, in first batch of 2018. So my student could not finish those 10 questions because they are not able to write also those questions in a designated time. So later on in the next year, what I have to start is last 6 months, I will give them a question 2 days prior, they'll prepare it, they'll write, and then I'll evaluate because they feel they have written everything. So they are even not focusing on what is being asked. They just write whatever they know. So I will say, okay, you have written so much, but according to me, it's only this much is important. The rest all is not important. So now I have started training my first MDS in that way, that 18 minutes, one question, you will not spend more. Make sure you attend all 10. So if you are right, 3-4 questions long, then later if you don't attempt 1 or 2, you will rather have a chances of failure. So they are, because they are going away from writing skills because of this entrances and the way the things are going on. That is a major hurdle, I feel. So they are not having a depth of knowledge. And
so maybe asking them to, giving them model exams more and more, to write so that the speed in writing increases, right? That way.
Yes, because what I feel is in our time, like when, of course, one college was there in Gujarat. So the average mark of all the 4 years were counted and maximum weightage was given to final year marks. So like we were studying all the 4 years. Our theory and our basic part was very sound. So we were able to explain and elaborate on every aspect. So that part is greatly lacking because they are not focusing on the graduation. They just want to clear.
So based on
focusing
that,
the entrance.
and based on that and many more, in this question is to Dr. Kritika. Of the various teaching, the innovative teaching methods that you had explained in your lecture, do you think any of this or anything else can help them in both in the writing skills and also, in making them understand the subject better? And in all this, one aspect is the students aspect that they need to, how to improve them. And that's how all that was student centered. Now, in all this, how much is the burden on the staff when they have to make everything, because it's all sort of a micro teaching that's happening.
Yeah. So thank you, ma'am. To answer your first question, that is the reason why probably the current generation, if you see our children and other schools, how they teach kids is to submit online assignments. It's probably a total cultural change itself in how they are appearing or preparing and giving their education, basic education. Then we also have to change the format in which we are asking them to give the answers. Say, for example, in our institution, they don't write descriptive. Short notes are in mind maps. If they know the concept, that is more than enough. Only when we probably ask them to make it into a format, you have an introduction, you have a flow to your subject and all that, it becomes difficult probably to write in everything. And also, as ma'am said, students, when they start writing, they will initially feel that I have to write more and more and more. Mind maps means they just have to put the concepts into place and it finishes that. So technically for short notes, it's a very good format that I think we have to change ourselves to adapt to. And the second question that you had asked about how difficult is it for faculty members to follow this kind of a multiple interactive learning system wherein we also have to prepare equally well. It is not enough if we just make a 30-slide PowerPoint presentation for a 1-hour class and go explain whatever we have understood. We have to ensure that the other person understands by way of creating activities. So yes, it is a challenge to create those activities in a logical manner because it is totally up to you to be creative. But I think we have to remind ourselves about Gandhiji's words, be the change you want to see. So if you want students to learn something different, and they are used to learning things differently these days, the source of knowledge not comes theoretically from the textbooks. They learn from YouTube, they learn from social media, they learn from the web. So we also have to change the way we are teaching. It is only one point in time that you're going to create that activity. After that, year after year, you'll probably improvise on an existing activity, but not change the entire thing. So if we do that effort for the first year, then it becomes easy. It is not too difficult, is what I felt. The first year in 2021, I found it really difficult. But after years, it has become easier, is what, and it also allows you to be creative. So, and it brings in the child in you so that you can connect better with students. So that also establishes a good bond with the students.
This will motivate the teachers also to become more passionate towards teaching.
Yes.
Okay, on that note, Dr. Sajji, what shifts will help expedite tomorrow's learning to today? That is, what is the classroom of the future?
Madam, the concept of classroom to the future might sound very utopian. It might sound as if we are talking something high-tech, we are only dentists, we are only teachers, but this thing has come to stay. People have got high expectations from a teacher, let it be a parent, let it be your own teacher, let it be somebody in the social media. So you just want, instead of calling it as a classroom of the future, you can say it is the life of the future. And to talk about this, I have made some, these are not my ideas, these are the ideas which are there already available for us. Do we want to have digital teaching as a supplement, or it is a own standard as of now? I would say that at present we are in the changeover shift from it is not a supplement, neither it is the standalone. Now there's a shift, but after few years all these things is going to become digital, because our research is digital, our paper writing is digital, our teaching is digital, and what they are going to do tomorrow in their clinics, wholly our computer is digital, our labs are digital. So unless and until we tell our students how to make a digital ceramic crown, how to do a CAD cam, it is not possible to, when we don't know how to do a CAD cam, when we don't know how to do a e-lecture, it's very difficult to for our students to adopt to the digital area, which is already here. We are late. There are three types of learner, madam. One is a late learner.
As you said, we are late, so probably we'll adopt it at the earliest possible.
And there is a, madam, one more.
Yeah.
Previously, when we were students, we had purely academic standards. Something was set for us. We had a goal. We had to finish in 6 months. We have to finish in 1.5 years, 2.5 years. Now it is, we have to inculcate into the students the critical thinking habits. That means they should be able to critically analyze why I'm doing this. Is I tell my students, you are not going to get a Nobel Prize from a thesis. It's just a method to know how research is done. Simple. We should give them simple goals. And one more thing is, we have to shift from single media text to blended learning. Nowadays, all the information is available. Patients come to us with the treatment plan. They will tell us to implement. They will not tell us signs and symptoms. The students also, when they put the clinic tomorrow, they'll get patients who will ask them for bleaching. Today morning it happened. He came and straight away told bleaching, sir, I had got Meccans. He told me the word Meccans bleaching. Now, what sort of situation we are going to put on our students? And the sheer
So it is not only the students who can obtain knowledge online, it's also the patients who can do that. Correct. So moving on, I would actually request all the participants as well, if they have any questions or any queries or points to be discussed, please put it in the question answer box. We can discuss that here. So moving on, I would now like to ask a pertinent, pertinent to our specialty, I would say. Since Dr. Nimisha has spoken so much on rubber dam, how do we motivate or how do the young generation of teachers motivate the students to place rubber dam? Because they take more time in giving excuses for not putting rubber dam than the time taken to take. Actually takes only 30 seconds to put a rubber dam, but they give umpteen number of reasons. So how to motivate them?
Madam, for students, I feel it's easy because I said it's compulsory. You are not supposed to do root canals without rubber dam. And I think once they start, of course, they take time. So initially they'll come on, tell madam, today I have done class 1 under rubber dam. Rather not a postgraduate, ma'am, even undergraduates now, whatever composites they are doing for us, it's compulsory under the rubber dam. So we have started in final year, and so final year interns and postgraduates all are doing all procedures under rubber dam. My problem is more with the faculty, particularly those who are coming from other institutions. They are not working under the rubber dam. So it's not a question of, because we are teachers. So when I tell it's compulsory, means it's compulsory. So of course, I'm not becoming very strict, but I have a certain senior faculty who introduced this concept. They were literally punishing them, and they were telling them that you are out of the clinics for 3 days. And that's how we introduced. But now we don't have to do that because students themselves understand the benefits of working under rubber dam, and they feel that they are at par with others. So I understand that it's a learning curve. I myself take a lot of time in learning. I was also hesitant initially that, but then I realized that when the students are doing single tooth, we are able to manage. But when it comes to multiple tooth, it's a time consuming and we don't like. So from 50 minutes to quadrant isolation, now I have reached to 10 minutes, even it's more, but that much duration I have reduced. So I think it's a practice, and you have to be firm on yourself that I need to improve. It's like from motive which is there inside you that I need this change in me. As I do not know, somebody said we have to, Mahatma Gandhi, I think Kritika said that. So it's actually like, I want a change in me. I need to do it. Nobody else is going to help me. So, but faculties has to be motivated, and we have to be constantly pressurizing them to improve a small. I think what I do in my department is one change every year, some upgradation, be it a little. So one new introduction, which is there, or which is the future. And that we have to learn and we have to implement by any means. So gradually we can move up. Like, of course, some institutes are very much supportive, like Manipal and Savita, but all colleges are not so privileged that they'll accept the change so much. So we have to move gradually with the small budget. I do that. I show them the result and then they implement. So it's little late from our side.
So
We
that,
have to be.
that
Yeah.
actually needs a teamwork, right?
Yes,
Team
ma'am.
effort.
Mhm.
So in that, how do you think, the teachers, they need to have clinical skills as well? Because many, we have seen here, many have, they do not have clinics of their own. Their clinical skills, what they had in PG, we do not know. So when they join as staffs, and most of them, even if they don't have their own clinic, but they do only consultation. So their forte is only endo, because they do only endo consultation. So restorative work is something which many people, I find myself, is the same problem with us. So I think it's the same universal problem. Restorative work takes a backseat, and restorative aspect is not considered at all, like as concepts. So how do you think, Dr. Meena, can you give this? Because you have an aesthetic dentistry department in your, you had it in your college. So can you explain how, or can you throw light on how to improve that aspect?
Yeah. For example, you want somebody to pick up interest in aesthetics. In the OP itself, you can tell them many things. You can ask them to observe shade of the tooth of different age groups. You can ask them to see the surface characteristics, etc., and motivate them to do. And the other thing is preclinical models. They can begin with preclinical models, and when they are able to do good aesthetic work on preclinical model, they will be motivated to do it on clinical.
Dr. Meena, here the problem is not for the students. Like, we need to actually motivate the teachers to teach the students, or motivate them to make the students do this work, right?
Yeah.
So most of them, since they have consultation practice where most is endo related, and probably they would have done more endo, and in fact that is the truth. Right now students do a lot of endo work compared to restorative work. I would not say less restorative, but compared to restorative, their endo is always there, because that's when they take care of the patient's pain. Now to motivate the staffs to to motivate the students to do more of restorative work, that is little difficult, getting difficult.
My own example, I used to do only endo work as a consultant, but then I keep going and asking all the practitioners to hand over some of the restorative work for me, especially the post-endo restorations. And now, you can tell the patient that instead of crown, where we have to reduce so much of tooth, probably we can do other type of indirect restorations. And when we can show them the videos, the models which we have done, patients get motivated. So even as a consultant, so same thing happens to the teachers. They can sort of motivate the students to tell how, you can show evidence of when you do full crown work and indirect, partial indirect restorations. Same way with restorative work. You can show them, and then, you can generate interest. There are a lot of videos available which will motivate one to do restorative work. So you can ask them to watch those videos and try to see how much of it you can do on a preclinical model. And when they do good, they start doing it on patients. That's the way I have convinced some of my practitioners to give me indirect work, indirect posterior work.
Yeah. And that's
only endo work, and they were taking the after post endo work themselves because they earn more in their crowns.
So,
but now it's all changing, because for them it's challenging to do a partial indirect restoration, so they don't mind giving it to us.
And or like how we have in Savita, they have a different department for that. So Kritika, can you just tell, I think that you want to say a few words in this.
Yes, ma'am. We have a separate department for aesthetics, but aesthetics is purely aesthetics. We are talking about operative, where we are talking metal inlays, amalgam restorations. Here we are following that module system, as I had mentioned, where 3 months they have to focus on that particular module, and they have module requirements also. So currently the first years are undergoing basic operative module. So they are learning only operative dentistry. They are working on operative cases. They have to document operative cases. And faculty who are going to see these cases also have to be tuned, stay tuned in that process. So the 10 modules will cover all sections of the specialty, not just operative, ignorance towards operative or aesthetics, but also advances like regenerative endodontics, digital dentistry. These are also modules. So I think if we can somehow structure the PG curriculum into this kind of a module system, then it becomes a force that we have to conform to it.
Till the time
Because
the dental council gives us a specific, guidelines as to how to do it, it is very difficult for individual, institutions or many private, universities to take this up unless it is very, the head of the institution is really motivated.
yes,
take it up.
but even at a head of department level, we should be able to do it for post-graduation, ma'am, because it is under our control. So when we give the structure, then it is an objective way to go about it. We are not being emotional or subjective over it. So everybody has to conform.
Ultimately to make the patient, the student to do it, ultimately it depends on, we tell them, but they don't do it at the end because they know they anyway is going to appear for the exam. So that is one aspect that I think we need to be a little more, that cannot be part of the discussion here. So do you think clinical professors need to be there in the departments, like who will take care totally into clinical and not research? I think Vasu can't answer this question because he's totally into research, right? Or what do you say?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, what you are saying is also correct. Even as faculty members, our strength lies in a particular field. So we would rather be more productive focusing on that particular thing rather than doing everything because we are so-called faculty. So here it begins with the interview process itself. When somebody is applying for an interview at a senior lecturer level, not at reader or professor level, at a senior lecturer level, they have to take a class. They have to show what are the cases that they have done, and they have to show if they have got any publication. So their assessment and their strength and weaknesses is seen at that point itself. And depending on the requirement that we want in the department, we either take in or leave out. So there are, here also in Savita, it's not like everybody is good at everything. It is just that we are able to balance. Some people are extremely good in clinics, so they get posted into clinics. Some people are very good in taking classes, so they handle the module theory classes. So even, so that's very important. Otherwise, everybody doing everything becomes too tedious.
Yeah. And do you have such a system in Manipal as well, Vasu?
No, madam, we don't have that system. Here we have to do everything.
Okay. So I think only Savita has that system of segregation of everything. And welcome, Shalini. We were waiting for you because there are a lot of questions I have kept aside for you. So I'll start with the first one. My, your grudge against me will still continue, I think. How much of an emotional quotient can we address when we are dealing with many students at a time? We were talking about that EQ and IQ and stuff like that. So, yes. In one-to-one, it's very easy. Like when it's postgraduate students also, we are able to manage. But when it comes to undergraduate students, when the student-teacher ratio is higher or whatever it's called. So how can we, assess and the emotional quotient there?
Ma'am, I'll take this question in two parts. One, you have mentioned about the student-teacher ratio, and the second part is judging the student diversity. So I would just like to tell you that according to UGC, the most appropriate and the most ideal student-teacher ratio is 1:4 or 1:5. This we hit very well, particularly in the clinical postings. When we say that it is 1:100 or 1:60 or 80, that is only in the classrooms, in the conventional classrooms as they are being held today. Kritika has been mentioning that they are doing smaller group teaching. So also we cover not as much as Savita, but definitely up to 30-40% of the syllabus we are covering in small group. And I hope to make this higher this particular academic year. So that also helps. And it is not only in the lecture that the student should be identified. In the clinics, ma'am, this is very easily identified. Even in the pre-clinics, the ratio further reduces because the students are coming in batches A, And secondly, they are then dealt with a number of teachers. So again, there they are not looking at more than maybe 7, 8 students being dealt with at one time by one staff member. Secondly, about the emotional quotient, it is that it's a very fine line. So there might be children who, sorry, I beg your pardon, there might be students or adult learners who are genuinely looking for emotional support. On the other hand, there will be ones who are tweaking the system to get what they want out of it. So we will have people across the spectrum. And because in this FDP is being attended by a lot of people who have just joined the teaching profession, I can say that it is not very easy to make this judgment. You have to be extremely astute and very street smart to be able to judge a person. Let's not even say student, let's just say a person. If you're good at judging personalities, you'll be able to identify this student diversity in terms of the emotional quotient. But here,
Now, again,
like Kavita was asking me last time, that what are the red flags, what are the markers? For me, the very strong marker would be, how is this person, generally we only rate the person on the way the submissions are being done, the way the assignments are submitted, the way the examinations are being dealt with. But over and above that, because we have student-centric activities, because we have small group activities, it helps us to identify how the student is behaving with peers, then how the student is behaving with maybe seniors, because we practice the buddy system, and then how is the student then behaving with the auxiliary staff. These are 3 standout markers. If there is something not quite which you can't put your finger on, or something fishy, then definitely that student needs help. Further to this, in our college, we have a system where we have a full-time clinical psychologist is there. So we have she does not, the best part is that we have made sure that she doesn't have a proper sitting room. So what happens is that, because nobody knows where she's going to be at any point of time, so the stigma of having to go to that floor in that room and knowing that they have come for some advice doesn't happen. So she comes and sits in any staff member's rooms, and the student is texted and brought there. Generally, it will be the mentors.
Shalini, don't you think that same psychologist needs for the staff as well? Actually, Vasu was
She
telling
does,
that.
ma'am. She works for all of us. So sometimes we also go running to her with our problems. She's there for all of us. A human being is a human being, no matter what the age. And I think we collect a lot more.
You said the emotional quotient of the student. Now,
Yes.
even the emotional quotient of the teacher makes a lot of difference, because in the way we handle those students, like, so some young blood will have more, anger in them, and
I would hate to label it as anger, because I have been a victim of this labeling oftentimes. So, I don't want to call it anger, ma'am, but there might be temperamental differences depending upon what the situation is on that particular day.
Yeah,
you encounter too many cars on the road?
You're always good with words, Shalini. I'm quite poor in that. So, sorry for that.
So, ma'am, I would just say, no. I'm just saying that it's not about anger. It's about a different expectation on different days, that could possibly, on some day, I'm probably happy with idli sambar as my breakfast. On other days, I want the full hotel experience. So it is just that. So it is just a different expectation on each day, which kind of changes things. So yes, this we have to learn to identify our own EQ on a particular day. In fact, I'll just show you something. It's lying right next to me in our daily planners, which have been given to us by the university. Can you see my the thing I'm showing you? Okay, it can't be seen. So we have something which is called a mood tracker. They give us a mood tracker. Can you see that in the corner of the screen?
Yeah.
So they've given us a mood tracker. So we can do a tracking of our own selves. This is for the staff. So we, like you're saying, that up and down will happen. And sometimes maybe we need to point it out to another colleague, however senior or junior the colleague might be, that I think you need to take a time out, go and sit, I will take your lecture. Sometimes just saying that solves a lot of problems.
Correct. Very true. Okay, now we move on to a little different topic here. Not a different topic, but towards the product innovation and stuff like that. I would like a response from Ruchika as well as Shiv Shakti on this also. Now, how has the scenario changed in respect to the product innovation in India, especially in dental field?
Ma'am, this is, I would say that this is the best time to get into product innovation in India, especially in dental. Because the impetus is coming right from the top, from the government. And I am a part of a government institute, so we are seeing it in our daily lives because, for example, we procure everything through a government e-marketplace, which is called GEM. Now, in that in itself, we cannot buy anything which does not have minimum 20% Make in India component. So today it is a problem for us because in dental, we don't have as many Make in India. But the good side of that is that while, they have enforced this law on one side, on the other side, government is also pushing a lot of grants and a lot of, they're making a facilitation platform where people can do it, right from undergraduate students, postgraduates, and faculty. Earlier, yesterday also I said that research for us in dentistry meant a publication. Our final goal was to get a publication done, and that was the epitome of research. Now we are moving a lot towards patents and then product developments. So all of these government bodies, they all have dedicated divisions for technology development. Like DST has a technology development board, or ICMR has a medical device and diagnostics MDMS division. They only take care of ideas which can be converted into product. Now, I know as a researcher or as a small time, product innovation, because we only start with small things. Or as a clinician, if I think of a product, it is very difficult to write a grant and pursue it and do this. So for that, now they are making a lot of incubation hubs and, where you can be incubated or you can just take a technology development hubs. So you can go to them and they will help you. Their purpose is to help you in getting the grant. A small grant, they can also facilitate and do it.
So any private practitioner can apply for a fund?
As of now, you have to have a tie-up because they have to have some kind of standardization. So you have to have a tie-up with some institute, but they can be a co-investigator. So as a private practitioner, if I think of an idea, then I can always reach out to some faculty in my area, and then I can put in a joint grant. Also, sometimes we make something, a lot of students now, I'm seeing a lot of young students also coming up with some prototypes. Institutes like Savita and all their undergraduate, postgraduate students are also coming out with patents. But the other challenge is till what technology readiness level are we taking it? We may patent it, but what after that? From lab to chairside is again the big gap that we have right now, because we are not validating it. Now, I may make a product, but I need to validate it by a lot of other clinicians. Have to involve an industry partner so that it can be available in the market tomorrow. So for that also, these kind of facilitation hubs, whether they are medical technology or, as I said, dental technology, now we are starting off as a, dental technology innovation hub. You can even go to all the IITs have these kind of hubs. So they will help you in, as a product innovator myself, I cannot do it. We will not have that kind of bandwidth also. We will not have those kind of resources.
And the technical help that we need is?
Technical help, there's a lot of hand-holding. You have to get a lot of regulatory clearances. Even the whole pathway, life cycle of a product development, I did not know till 1 year, till I started, started reading about this. So there is a whole life cycle, a lot of because they are tightening every sphere now, right from regulatory clearances to clinical trials. So the key to all of this now is to get on common platforms, facilitate each other, and then only we can actually do real conversion. Correct. Beyond patenting also.
Now, going back to the funded projects or studies, generally we as faculty members can't do a study on our own. So we involve a student to do we give a student a particular topic or this thing, and when they do that, it becomes part of a funding that we apply for. So in this process, the students is not able to contribute much in terms of writing the project and all that, because they don't have any experience in that. So does the onus fall upon the staff then to write the entire project? Because though it may be the student's thesis, the entire onus then comes on the staff, right?
You will definitely have to play a key role in guiding them. Now, of course, it depends on what level of student we are talking about. An undergraduate will need a different type of handholding. Postgraduate also, there is so much. Sometimes you feel you should only write it, yourself rather than editing what they have given you. But of course, there will be a very huge component of guiding. But at the same time, we should let them do it. And you keep, guiding it first, second paper. It depends. There is a lot of individual variation also in it. But of course, at the student level, faculty role will always stay central to it. And grants, you can take their help, but it will be led by the faculty only.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that elaborate, explanation. Now, moving on to Shalini, one question for you. Mentoring the students losing track due to habits, how to get them back to mainstream? The role of mentor in getting them back. There's a question from the audience, I think.
Ma'am, the role of the mentor. Now, are we talking about simply in the PG scenario or in the college?
Any PG or PG for that matter.
For here, ma'am, firstly, the college would need to have an established mentor-mentee system. Like in our college, we assign 8 students to 1 mentor. So we maintain a diary with the mentor so that various things can be recorded in it, not just the negative aspects, even the positive, the good aspects. So that is very important. And when you feel that a student is straying towards not performing up to the mark, because that is generally our parameter for examining a student. So if the student is not performing up to the mark, a very private conversation with the student, asking what is the problem, is the subject not understood? Or in the case of a lot of first-year students, as the case would be earlier, not so much now, maybe the language of communication is not understood. So if they're not very good with English and they were coming from, other medium schools, they would not understand the language, and just talking to them in a language they are comfortable in would go a long way in solving this problem. Also, if the syllabus is overwhelming them, particularly students who do not come from boards like CBSE or ICSE, which inculcates self-directed learning, then the whole syllabus has a tendency to kind of overwhelm them, because we are more and more going towards self-directed learning. So that can be addressed. Maybe they just need for us to hand out bite-sized portions. Like I said in my lecture, that you can create a personalized academic calendar where you address not only how much you have to climb, you also address how much you have already climbed, so that gives a sense of accomplishment and goals. And then
Can I just interrupt? All this is very, theoretically it sounds very good and all that. But where is the time for the mentee to come and meet the mentor? Because our academic, timetable is fully packed. We don't have.
We have these 3 interactive sessions in a week. Every subject has 3 interactive sessions in a week, wherein, so these are over and above the subject matter, where the mentors' doors are open for the mentees to walk in and talk to them. So this is after the college hours. So they wait after the college hours. It removes, trust me, ma'am, it does remove several barriers for them to come in after everybody is gone and speak to their mentee, to speak to their mentor goes a long, long way in helping to address the problems. So we can bring them back from the brim only if we know what is happening. If, like you said, when is the time for us to go and address this issue, then it will not work. We need to know that, we have to interact with them often enough. So they can, do this. I know some mentors in my college who actually take them out for a coffee or something after college hours, not in the college hours. I'm not recommending that at all. So they do take them out for a cup of coffee or something. That helps to
But do
open
you
up. The
think-
student also knows that
Yeah.
my
Do you
mentor
think
is
this
approachable.
possible for every faculty member to expect every faculty member to stay back after college hours?
So,
do
ma'am,
the-
in the we have there is a, like I told you, there is a student diary wherein the mentee is writing things and the mentor is commenting upon that. So it's like a cause and effect thing. So if there is something going wrong with the mentee, then the mentor also writes down what has been done to rectify. So also like this, there are kind of we take a feedback from the mentees, as in, do they want a mentor changed? So if too many students are opting for change from a mentor, and this is completely, it is only with our head of the institution, it's not a report which is just bandied about or shared, then maybe then we then the dental education unit, like we come in, we talk to the staff and kind of try and address the problem. Where is it going wrong? But our mentors are given an orientation whenever they join. So they're given an orientation, that is how they're supposed to behave, what they're supposed to do, what are the markers, what are the red flags, and most importantly, the fact that they can report to another body. So we have so they get whom to report to. Sometimes that is a challenge. The mentor doesn't know whom to go to. So we give them a proper pathway that they are supposed to go to the next person. And so the complaint gets kind of, putting it in corporate term, it gets escalated. So it gets managed at some level or the other. But it is this, I'm not very fond of addressing, techniques which help us to stay out of trouble. But in this area, I would definitely say that it helps a lot for us to know the chain of command so that we can address the problem. And if it is not solvable by us, please bump it ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, Dr. Girija, would you like to comment?
Yeah, thank you. What you suggested, Dr. Mahalakshmi, what you expressed, that is very true, because most of us endodontists, they are very busy practitioners and they will have their clinics, they have to go for their consultation. So staying back after the college hours is really difficult for them. So this used to happen in our college also, that we don't have time, or rather the students also don't have a time. So now I'm suggesting actually to make a timetable on schedule, maybe 3:30 to 4:30 or something like that, where we are also free and they also can come and meet us.
Here for us, the main problem is the school, the college bus leaves at sharp that time.
So before that only,
college. Not
Ma'am,
only
we have the similar kind of problem. Ma'am, here we have a college bus wherein the mentors leave, so the mentors will get on the bus and leave, not the students.
Difficult.
So like Dr. Girija suggested, we have done this. As part of the timetable, we've created slots.
Then it is good.
And in rotation, the mentors will sit. So 2:30 to 3:30 every day, somebody or the other is there.
Then it is fine. Yeah, that I agree.
And I've also found, repeatedly, like I said this earlier also, when you remove that time period, when they know the colleges from 8:30 to 2:30, they feel more comfortable walking in after 2:30 to discuss things, and we get better responses after that time.
Yeah, also what we have included in our college is that, we are also given some assignment duties like mess duties. We go to their mess either for the breakfast or any time, and we sit with them and then we chat with them. They're more free. And
they're
they
very
discuss
relaxed.
with us.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We are coming to the last session.
Thank you.
I kept some controversial questions for the last session. Just 10 minutes more, please, from all of you. There are 3 questions. That one has come from the audience, whether we need the time to revamp DCI curriculum. 1. Number 2 is related to the exams. Is it right on our part to just pass every student? Are we creating bad doctors in the challenge? And why not? Why shouldn't there be a strict cumulative assessment over the 3 years? And very importantly, none of the postgraduate exams or any other exams in medical field have a practical exam on patients. So do we need that? Doesn't a cumulative 3-year assessment not enough for case discussions or that? So there are 3 pertinent questions. I think I will ask everyone to just give just half a minute or 1 minute of their thought process on this. Dr. Sarjeev. You're muted, please. You please unmute yourself.
MDS is either awarded or rewarded. In our times, it used to be rewarded. Now, times have changed. The only thing constant in life is change. We have to adapt to the society. Second thing is, at the same time, we have to balance what sort of patient care that person is going to put in when he passes out of our institute. So we have to have a fine balance between the expectations of the society, expectation of the students, and expectation of the teachers themselves. Everybody is not born perfect. We were not born perfect. We did pass out. I failed in my second year path micro exam. I did not clear my master's in the first attempt. Still, I consider myself, I've done reasonably well with the given background. So we have to always keep on shifting, or it has to be case to case scenario, whether you want to reward the master's degrees or whether you want to award the master's degrees. And coming to the second point is whether we need a change. Yes, every moment of life is changing. And we all know every day we have to write the exam. There is no syllabus for it. Still, we pass our exam and we come out alive the next day morning. Change is definitely is to be there. Let it be from the administrator side or professor side or the DCI sides. And
Yeah.
that's all,
Dr.
madam.
Meena,
Thank you very much.
unmute yourself, please.
I am also for a change. I think, the examination pattern should change. Maybe have case discussions and what they have done over the 3 years. And of course, also have something like OSCE, where, on a dummy or a preclinical model, it's checked. So I think just like how we are evolving with the other things, we have to evolve with the traditional sort of examination system.
And Dr. Girija?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, definitely that we need a change. And this, I felt when we wrote one manuscript for the JD, that is Journal of Dental Education. So that time they expressed that they didn't know that this sort of examination pattern is there in India. And everywhere it is cumulative. We have some people who visit our, as a guest faculty from abroad. They say they don't have this. They every year they assess the student and they give them the credits. And there is nothing like this examination on the patient that day. Because patient is also can be, that the student in the tension, they may not do well. So there's a question of, working on a human beings. So they say it need not be there like that. So I feel we need a change. And also, what was your first question? Sorry, I forgot. Whether we
there
pass.
is a change needed for the curriculum.
Yeah, we need definitely change. And also the students also, I feel now the students, they feel that whatever it is said and done, anyway, we are going to pass. That thing has come into their mind. That should not be there, because ultimately we are going to work on the human beings. So their skill have to be there. So once they process that skill, only then I feel we should give them they should earn the degree. Not we are going to give, they should earn by doing the right work, I feel. Thank you.
Very true. Nimisha, your thoughts on this?
Yes, ma'am. Curriculum change. Yes, I hardly like very much firm believer of it, because yesterday's example, I was just taking final year lecture and I was teaching them step down preparation. And what was there in the old textbooks I was teaching, and I was telling them this is totally not what we are following. Because when we teach to undergraduate, we go back to the original traditional, which I learned in 1995, 1996. So I told them this is the new one, but yes, at the same time, you have to write in the exam whatever is there in the textbook. So yesterday also, I was very much in a dilemma. I even discussed with my dean, okay, what I am teaching now, I'm really feeling bad about it. Curriculum needs to be updated regularly, and we have to train the students for the future. That I always believe. Once they move out, they should be ready for the future challenges. So there, I strongly agree. I do not believe in passing everyone, because every year I say to the God, I'm sorry, I have done mistake today whenever I'm an examiner, be it an internal or external. I have started rejecting examinership many a times because I feel a lot of guilt. So that part is also there in my mind. So I don't believe, but yes, at the same time, our hands are tight, that we can be. So how I have changed it, I am very, very particular in my clinical area. I'm always there in the clinic. Whenever you come and see me, I am on their toe. I make sure that they do everything perfectly, but then I leave it to the God, or because whatever I can do, I'm doing it. The remaining part, and same thing I tell even to my faculties, that stand on their heads and teach them how to do it perfectly. So my guilt is little bit less, but
understand.
theory I can't help.
I can understand very well. Ruchika, I think all of us are almost on the same the platform. So Ruchika, your thoughts apart from this, whatever they have said, the same thing, reiterate, or anything else to add?
In the examination pattern, ma'am, I feel, of course, change is needed, but when it comes to patient interface as your final exam, I'm for it. Because I think as a doctor, what we are checking is their patient interaction. What we can do possibly is change what kind of, examination we are taking, in the sense we can change the exercise. But that final day of exam, when they have to, do something on the patient and show, is needed, because that also tests whether how well they will perform under a stress situation. Because as doctors, we are often faced with stress situation. And as far as cumulative is concerned, I think officially it may be on that final day, but unofficially it is a cumulative pattern. Because, ultimately all examiners go by the head of department's feedback. So yes, maybe we can make that more formal, but I'm all for a patient interaction as your final exit. It's not that just a good student who makes a blunder on the day of the exam. I don't think any of us fail that. And as far as the
sorry, you had something else to say. Sorry.
And as far as passing students is concerned, I know we all have become more lenient today, but we need to know what is a good to have and what is a must have. So if a student is not even meeting a must have, then we should not hold us back in holding that student for another 6 months. I mean, we will ultimately pass him, but at least he can work more for 6 months.
Shalini?
So ma'am, I'm going to play a bit of a devil's advocate here. And I'm just going to say that everybody is talking about the syllabus not being proper and DCI not doing anything about it, etc. But then we have examples like Savita, and in the past 3 years since I've been doing this work in my college, I realized how much changes we can make at the institutional level itself. Our hands are tied, but not so much. Also, the DCI itself is now revamping the whole syllabus, and we'll see a newer semester system. Addition of one term will be there. So we are looking at a 5.5-year program, which is replete with core subjects and electives, and the students are going to have a CBCS, a credit-based choice system. So I don't know whether it is how far it has progressed and when it will start, but it is a good thing if that change happens. And also the thing is that when it does, they're going to implement competency-based learning. Like you were saying the other day, Mahalakshmi ma'am, that we are doing things as per the medical college. They are following competency-based learning. We will sooner or later have to deal with that. And then with what Dr. Nimisha said, that we'll have to stand in the clinics and make sure that this is done. And then staff will have to be separate for separate activities, because they will be assessing separate competencies. They will be teaching separate competencies. And also, I cannot even conceive of a dental exam being held without testing the psychomotor abilities. Maybe we need to stress more on the treatment planning and the diagnosis, because that goes completely haywire sometimes. But I would not do away with the clinical exercise, because the amount of psychomotor skill that we are required to do is humongous. So I should be able to test that in a student. I would certainly not let that go. Maybe we can have, a mixture wherein we have case studies on the actual patients, like somebody was saying about communication. That could happen. And then, but simulated exercises on simulators are a must. I need to be able to see the psychomotor skills.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's very important.
My take on this is that we definitely need to test the psychomotor skills, because ours is a skill-based. It is an art and science both. But the problem is, during the day of exam, normally a good performing student may flunk during the day of exam, and the patient's tooth is actually at a risk. So we have seen so many cases that there is, in a class 2, they end up in perforation, they end up in access cavity and perforations and stuff like that. So rather than saying that whole 3 years of whatever they have done, case discussions, diagnosis, talking to the patients, all this can be done. And simulators can be used for their psychomotor skills. instead of, patients per se. So that is my take on it. What would you say, Shiva Shakti? I think she's the only one left, and she's been raising her hand for quite some time. I don't know for what it was. Sorry, I didn't see it earlier.
For the three questions.
You can take up the last 3 questions as well as the point that you wanted to talk about.
No, the last 3 questions only. Of course, I agree that this year curriculum has to change, but not as a top-down approach. It has to go as a bottoms-up approach. Like not 10 people forming a committee, making a decision and putting it for implementation down. Take the feedback from the last 5 years of graduates, why there is so much of problem in employment, what are the challenges they face, what do they need. Take that feedback, work on the feedback, and then devise a curriculum. That should be the approach, not some 10 people deciding on the curriculum and pushing it down. That will never work. Again, it will go for a revamp only. And the second thing is, as far as the assessment is concerned, it should go in for a continuous formative assessment right from day one, rather than deciding on a summative assessment. The final exam, the weightage should be less. For example, in most of the engineering curriculum, IACDE based curriculum, if you see the internal assessment percentage would be almost 50% or more. So similarly, when we do that, this last minute stress for the patient as well as the student will be definitely come down. And we also will be able to certify the students with full heart that they are competent enough to do these particular skills. And while training them for these competencies, we should also keep it in mind that good learners and people who have good skills, automatically they'll perform. They don't need the support of the teachers for any reason. But it's actually the other people who needs the support of the faculty and the guidance and handholding to reach that stage. So that minimum level what we fix and the minimum competence. For example, if undergraduate students leaves from Department of Conservative Dentistry, should definitely be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the mandatory exercises before they leave? They should be competent enough to do. So those exercises, it's not like how aesthetically they are doing it, not for the aesthetic restoration, for the other things I'm telling. So we have to fix a criteria and see to that the entire batch of the students achieve that. Definitely there will be 20% of them achieving more than that. That is not in our hands. It is their gifted skills. They will do. So this we need to take into consideration. That's what. And the other thing, when you asked about the innovation, whether this is the right time to do, I second with Dr. Ruchika. Actually, we have plenty of opportunities for falling on our plate at right time. Actually, nobody else can tell or think about the problem what we exactly have. For example, when you're treating a patient, what sort of difficulty you face with the instrument, what sort of a modification you want, you will be the better person to tell that. So if you can think of that innovative idea, then take the help of the other people who do. For example, all the articulators came from engineers. They did the articulators and we started utilizing that, and later we modified it. So similarly, healthcare people, actually, that is why the medical devices and medical healthcare sectors going into IPR sector has raised recently only because of this. Actually, we have a lot of potential, and we are the ones who can do better jobs than the manufacturers, the company people, because we know everything about the patient, we know everything about the treatment. So we will be having the better deciding authority also to what is exactly is needed. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Shiv Shakti. On that note, I would like to ask all the panelists to please come on video so that we can have a final pick. And I would like to summarize that, yes, we need change. We need to change ourselves as teachers. We need to take the emotional quotient of the student into consideration. We need to give them, we as teachers need to assess both the psychomotor skills of the student as well as the intellectual. I also motivate them to do much more than they are capable of. And on that note, I would like to say thank you to all. So I'm just taking a pic from all of us, for all of us. Girija, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, panelists, once again for staying well beyond the 2 o'clock. And sorry to keep you all, but I think it was a very interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely.